Hello everyone, Warren Hayes here for Bell to Bells, your women's wrestling wire. I'm glad that you are joining us here today on youtube.com/Bell to Bells because we have another interview that we've set up in collaboration with Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Of course, we are interviewing women who made it on the PWI Top 500 this year, and we are absolutely thrilled today to have the chance to talk with Charli Evans, who was all the way over in Australia. Charli, hello, welcome, and congratulations for charting on the 500.
Thank you so much.
So, Charli, first of all, right, I mean, this is, it's everything everyone always talks about, and before we started chatting, before we started recording, we were talking a little bit off the air. COVID is still very much a problem over in Australia. When we're recording this, you're 3 months in on lockdown. How have you been coping since all of this has started?
It's so hard because Australia was doing so well. Shows were running great. I was having consistently good matches, I think.
Right.
And then it all kind of stopped, and for me, my creative outlet is wrestling, so yes. It's kind of annoying being cooped up at home, but my motivation is actually still pretty good, so I'm doing all right.
Well, that's not so bad. But of course, you have been busy enough to be ranked, and it's the first time you've ranked on the list, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
It is. How does it feel?
It feels really cool. I think it's super humbling to be a woman on the list, especially. Right.
But I mean, that's a testament to all the work you've been that you've been putting in there. Look, COVID aside, you before the lockdown kicked in, like you said, you did have matches. Over in North America, the indies are opening back up, and there's a few promotions opening up in the UK as well. So It means that you might have to defend some of your titles. I mean, you've got, you're a multi-champ. You've got a couple of belts here. Which one are you most excited to defend again?
I'm really looking forward to wrestling for Resurgence again when I go back to the UK. I think they're really special. I think the way they present wrestling is really different as an artistic form, more than just a show. I had some good things coming up there, so hopefully when I go back it's all good to go.
Hopefully. And I mean, the landscape has changed a little bit as well. Who would you like to defend it against? Let's say you had the pick of the litter, and you could who would your first defense be against?
Kanji, absolutely.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Who's all over there doing stuff in progress right now.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite people to wrestle, and I think that she deserves the shot. So as soon as I'm back, if she wants it, it's hers.
Also, this year you participated in the PWA Black Label Tourney, right? The PWA Premiership, and also the DMDU Heavyweight Title Tournament, right? You made it to the finals against Richie Taylor, and you've really gravitated towards tournaments, right? Would you consider yourself now a tournament wrestler?
I think I have maybe an edge compared to some of the other people in Australia, because when I was living in the UK, I was wrestling 4-5 times a week could be a normal thing for me.
Right.
So I think when I go into tournaments, having 3 matches in one night isn't the craziest thing to me. I can deal with the stress of it. And kind of thrive in that situation.
Sure.
So I think maybe that is what I bring different to everyone else. I wish everyone in Australia could wrestle 3, 4, 5 times a week on a Tuesday if they wanted. But right now that's not happening. But hopefully one day. But yeah, so I love tournaments. I think the pressure of it is really fun. I tend to not get too stressed out in general for wrestling. So I think that helps as well.
That probably helps. But again, I agree actually with what, if you're wrestling multiple times, as much as that, of course you'll be more at ease doing multiple matches in what night, of course. What do you think is missing in the Australian scene to have it be as you know, I don't want to, because the scene is very quality, right? I don't want to give the impression that I'm disparaging it, but you know, there is, you know, there's also the quantity aspect, and I know there's not as many shows running. What do you think is missing ultimately in the Australian scene to really give it a huge boom?
I honestly think it's just exposure.
Okay.
Like that, it's that simple. I swear to God, we have the best wrestlers in the world here.
Right.
Like, not like I'm not being biased. I'm not being anything. Like, the level of talent here is insane, and it's just that the rest of the world doesn't know it.
And I'd have a tendency to agree. Like, you do have, you know, I think right now probably the biggest standard bearer would be Robbie Eagles, right?
Yeah,
who is a fantastic wrestler, FYI. You know, if you know, by the way, to anyone listening right now. So I agree. Like, if everything was more, if you had more chances to wrestle on bigger stages, I guess, right?
Yeah, and that's why I think like it's so cool seeing Robbie, especially like holding the junior belt right now.
Right.
Like like collectively Australia, like that moment when he won, oh my God, it was just one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life, because he's now bringing eyes to all of us. So a win for Robbie is a win for all of us, is how we look at it. And obviously he deserves the world and he deserves everyone to know his name, but he's so good at like also being like, okay, but look at Australian wrestling, look at the talent we have here.
He does wave that flag very, very proudly. But I mean, it's interesting at the same time, because it's not as if we're completely devoid of Australians on a weekly basis on national TV. If we think about Rhea Ripley, or you know, just previously, you know, like with Buddy Murphy or the Iconics, you know, of course they've all moved on to other names, these people, but you know, it's not as if we're not exposed. But maybe is the sample size is very small, maybe.
Yeah, I think just like getting eyes off people that are signed, and obviously like no discredit to them at all. That's absolutely incredible, and it's amazing that Australians can, like, there was a point where there was no, like Tennille was the only one signed. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so now to have Rhea and like Jess and Cass and Buddy Murphy and like Grayson Waller, Steph DeLander are all over there, which is so cool. Just getting the eyes on the independent scene here is like the next step that we need to take. And I think it was working like at the start of the year, you know,
right?
Like we had some like, because we were like one of the only countries that were actually open running shows at like a full capacity.
Sure, because you had everything under control at that point.
Yeah, we did. It was great. But yeah, so like I think at the start of the year it was awesome because people were starting to get eyes on the scene, and you know, like PWI was streaming on Fight. Deathmatch Down Under had just started, and like we're producing like a really like different brand of shows. Like Aussie Open versus Velocities was like one of the best matches I've ever seen in my whole life, and that got a lot of eyes on our product as well. So I think it's just a matter of getting more people's eyes on it, and when they do, they're going to be like gobsmacked because we're so good.
I hope it does happen. But let's go back to you specifically. Let's go back to the tournaments that you competed in this year. You know, they were both intergender tournaments, right? Considering your career, you know, in intergender wrestling, you've done it, right? How important are intergender matches as a part of your career? Is it like something that's very special, or is it just like business as usual? I'll just wrestle anyone.
So my goal in wrestling in general is to just kill the term intergender.
Oh. Okay.
I don't think it needs to be a thing that's even mentioned. There has never been a time where I've heard a ring announcer say the next match is a man's match. I always hear the next match is oh my God, the fucking term ladies, my God. I'm a ring announcer says that and I'm ready to fucking throttle them. Like, but you hear the next match is a women's match. Like, why does it need to be different? The next match is an intergender match. Why?
No,
what is the difference?
I mean, you're personal right now. You're preaching to the choir. I'm completely with you. It's like, it's always, you know, it's sometimes fun to hear, you know, wrestlers sort of express things that I'm like, that I just throw out on Twitter, and I'm just like a guy with a podcast, you know. But no, I completely agree. So your goal, like, is really to normalize it.
Yeah, is to not even have someone question it.
Okay.
When I wrestle, and I hope it carries on for other people as well. But when I wrestle, if it's a man, if it's a woman, I don't want anyone to look at it from a gender perspective. I want it to just be a wrestling match that's really good.
And what
And
more?
my gender shouldn't have to come into it. I shouldn't be a good female wrestler. I'm just a good wrestler.
I completely agree with that. No, that's ultimate. That's the goal, right? And I'm all
Yeah.
for that.
And like I
It
just
makes
think it's
sense.
crazy when people like, you know, if I was wrestling a big guy over here, people would be like, "Oh, that's ridiculous." But if there's guys over here that are smaller than me that wrestle big guys, and no one questions it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's an issue to me.
And I completely understand why. I can completely get it. You know,
Because
at the moment that we're recording, you know, we recently had the NWA Power Empower show. Excuse me.
yes,
You know, and you can look at the show and say, wow, you know, that was a great women's wrestling show, but objectively speaking, it was just a great wrestling show from top to bottom. Like, it was something that was just a complete breeze to watch, and
exactly.
to a certain degree, that's, you know, it's a desired form of compliment that you'd like, right?
Yeah, I just want people to be like, "Oh, that was a really good match," not like that was a really good women's match.
It's as if,
Like
yeah,
it was a good match that involved females.
right, as if
I
you
don't want.
had, you don't want to feel that we're grading on a curve,
Yeah,
basically.
I don't. I like. Obviously, I'm like super like stoked to fucking bear the flag for like women's wrestling, but I just want it to be wrestling in general.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. In March this year at DMDU Smashing Sandcastles, which is a fantastic name for a show, you competed in a last drinks death match against
I
Joel
did.
Bateman, and you
Yes,
won.
I
We
did.
and we watched the match. Fantastic death match. You toasted your match before you started. That was essentially the thing. That's why it was a last drinks death match. Tell me about the experience of wrestling Bateman in this experience.
Yeah, well, Joel and I have been friends for years, um, and we've always talked about wrestling each other. And more in the last few years, I've gotten a lot more into death matches, and he's been into them for a very long time and kind of led the charge in Australia with death matches.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as soon as I got back to Australia, he was like, "We need to do this," and I was like, "Yes, absolutely." And like lockdowns happened, plans fell through, and then we finally got to do it, and it was just like the coolest thing ever. Like, I love deathmatch wrestling. I think it's fucking incredible. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. Sorry. Um,
Well, you know, you've been swearing throughout, so, but thank you
oh,
for
I'm
no, we're
Australian.
fine, we're fine.
I'm Australian. It's punctuation. Um,
No, but like,
and
because it was an all-out death match, right? You had the light tubes, you had the lime juice, you had window panes, you had this
mhm.
ridiculous cut can board, which was fantastic.
Yeah,
Skewers, darts, like you
my
guys went all
favorite.
out.
Yeah, I love deathmatch wrestling. I am so like I really want to do them, but if I'm gonna do them, I want to not half-ass it. I'm so scared to like um I don't know. I just don't want to disappoint anyone in that scene
Sure.
when they watch it. So like I was really excited to do it. That was only my third death match that I've done. Um, but yeah, I loved it. I want to do more. I'm obsessed with them. I think it's so cool. And like people like watching that, no one questioned the gender thing.
Well, here's something. This is what I wanted to ask you about. It's going to circle. I'm glad you brought it up because it sort of circles around to what we were talking about earlier. You know, recently we've heard a lot of discourse again. You know, there was a recent death match on a major television show
Mm.
just a couple of months ago. Opened up a whole bunch of discourse on how women don't like death matches. Women don't like the blood. Um, you know, I mean, you know, there's all this discourse again around women and death matches.
Mm.
What would you say to fans who question, like, not only whether women should like it or not, or whether they do or not? That's more,
Mm.
or even question the fact that whether women should do death matches or not. What do you feel about that?
Well, I just think like any other type of wrestling, it is like a niche sort of area.
Yes.
Um, like I really don't think it's for everyone. I don't think everyone should do them.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to actually like obviously there's so much more risk involved. They're so scary. I'm not gonna lie, they're so fucking scary. Um and then they're not for everyone, and I totally appreciate that. But you know, like flippy wrestling isn't for everyone, chain wrestling isn't for everyone.
Right.
It's just like, if you like it, it's there for you. If you don't, just don't watch it.
Sometimes
And I think
it's so simple, right?
yeah, right. And like at the end of the day, like I'm a consenting adult who said yes to absolutely everything that was happening in that match,
Mm-hmm.
and as did Joel. And like, if there was something that I didn't want to do, I would just tell him, and that would be the end of it. And I don't think, like, yes, it's a crazy thing to watch, and it's so cool that it was on TV. That was so freaking cool. And I'm glad more people's eyes are kind of getting on it in a mainstream sense. But I understand how some people might not like it, but it's just as simple as not watching.
Yeah, it's just imagine that, watching what you like. Go figure.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Crazy. One thing I would like to touch on in the match, and it's probably the least hardcore. Well, no, it was anyway. Look, you finished the match using an ocean cyclone suplex through a glass pane, right?
I did.
The ocean cyclone suplex is Minami Toyota's finishing move, kind of a hollowed finisher. So I popped when I saw that. Not gonna lie. Tell me, was there any significance for you using the ocean cyclone suplex to finish this one off?
Yeah, towards the end, we both wanted to throw in moves that were from people that had inspired us in wrestling.
Oh, okay.
So, I know Joel threw in some stuff that he was really inspired by. I threw in the back fist for Eddie, which I asked for permission for.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, like I'm a big Japanese women's wrestling fan, big Japanese wrestling fan in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was really cool. Like I just thought that, like, that visual.
It was
incredible.
And it was. And I mean, if you're going to emulate anyone, might as well go with one of the best to ever do it, right?
Right, exactly.
There you go. We talked about
never do it again, to be honest. I'm done. I was like, oh, I hope she doesn't see it and get angry at me.
Right, because she's protective of her finisher, right? Isn't she?
She is.
Right?
She is. And I obviously don't want to disrespect anyone, but I felt like it was the perfect move for that situation.
Well, there you go. Well, Minami, if you're listening right now, wishful thinking. Minami, if you're listening right now, no hard. It came from a place of love.
It really did, and respect.
In respect. There you go. So on social media, you've been pretty vocal about wanting to return to the United States.
Yes.
How's that been going along? Have you made any progress?
Yeah, I just want to hold Everett Connor's hand so bad. So bad, more than anything. Yeah, look, the Australian Prime Minister, and we got heat. Scott Morrison, let me out of the country.
So yeah, because of the lockdown, I'm assuming it's not going forward.
The borders are closed at the moment. They're basically not letting anyone in or out. But as I really want to wrestle in the US. There's a lot of places that I've been lucky to do Shimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely love Shimmer, but I really, really want to wrestle for GCW.
Well, I mean, you're getting your deathmatch chops on, right?
I feel like I just slide in real nice there.
Yeah, I think there'd be. I think you'd fit in great these days. If anything, you're sort of getting me in the mood. Why don't you come over and kick Ricky Shane Page right in the teeth?
I'll do it. I've wrestled Ricky twice, and I'd love to do it.
Oh, really? Okay, well, fantastic. Let's make it a third time.
We're 1-1 at this point.
Oh, so we are in need of a rubber match.
I know, but he's not doing death matches anymore, which is really exciting for him.
Has he really?
I don't know. Look, he tweeted about it, but it was a good way to go out if it was his last one. It was.
I agree. So, but I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be excited to want to come back. As North America, especially, it's very exciting here right now. Of course, all sorts of promotions working together, all sorts of opportunities for indie wrestlers here to go on to big stages, big shows. So let's say this Forbidden Door thing is opens itself to you.
Okay.
You quash your heat with the British Prime Minister, not the Australian Prime Minister. Excuse me. And you can quash the one you have with the British Prime Minister too. I think we all have heat with old Boris. So let's say Forbidden Door is open. You're able to come to North America. You get the chance to wrestle one person of your choice, regardless of who they are, where they are. Charli, who would it be?
Oh my God.
I'm putting you on the spot. I know.
Question.
Hey, you know, a bit of a dream match situation.
Eddie Kingston.
Holy smokes, that'd be fantastic.
That's my dream match.
That's your dream match right there. Have you ever met Eddie?
Me and Eddie are good friends.
You're good friends.
Yes.
Have you ever wrestled?
He stayed with me for a little bit when he was in the UK.
Okay. And have you ever wrestled, Eddie?
We had a small interaction in a Progress Rumble.
Okay, so I love how it's like, no, we've never really wrestled. That's essentially it. Okay.
I gave him a few forearms and he lariated the fuck out of me. And I need more. I'm telling you. I swear, Tony Khan, put it on TV. It's money. I'm telling you, it's money.
I agree. I completely agree.
It's been my dream match for, honestly, probably like 8 or 9 years now. And it hasn't changed.
It's still the one.
It's the one. And oh my God, I can't believe it didn't happen in the UK. I tried so many places. I was like, please just someone book me versus Eddie. But hopefully one day.
Look, if we manifest it enough, it's bound to happen. And I'm
right.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely, I believe this. Honestly, I feel like anything is possible in wrestling these days.
Exactly.
Nothing surprises me anymore. Well, no, I get surprised, but I'm not like, I don't think the impossible is. I think the impossible is definitely possible these days. It's just crazy.
But there's so many people in America right now, because all I have is time to watch independent wrestling. So
sure.
There's Daniel Garcia, I really want to wrestle him.
Oh.
Marsha, I really want to wrestle her. Billy Starks, the besties again.
I mean, those are all quality people. Absolutely quality. Daniel Garcia is on top of he's the hottest thing in wrestling right now. Masha is fantastic. And Masha's
I would really like to wrestle her.
Masha is she's completely on fire, and you're fantastic too, Charli. Here we are putting all other people over.
They deserve it.
You deserve it too. But I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule I know you're in lockdown, but I still appreciate it. And before we wrap things up, Charli, why don't you let everyone know if they want to follow you on social media, if they want to buy your merch.
Oh my God, buy my merch.
Just let us know about everything. Drop all the links.
Yes. My merch store is charlievans.bigcartel.com, or Wrestler Merch, which is like a great website for like all Australian wrestlers. And then my Twitter right now is @violenceartist, because my other Twitter got deleted because I might have threatened Charles Mason's life.
People don't have a sense of humor anymore.
I know, it was a funny tweet.
I know.
He deserved it.
On top of that.
And then Instagram is @CharliEvansPro.
Well, there you go.
I'm at those places. I'm pretty funny on Twitter.
Yes, she is. Charli is a fun Twitter account to follow. Absolutely. Find her new account out there, because Twitter's being dumb and not giving her back her first one. Look,
dumb. It was worth it. The tweet was worth it.
It was worth it. Charli, thank you again so very, very much. Congratulations again on being on the 500 for the first time this year, and I hope everything settles up in Australia real fast, so that you can get back to doing what we like to see you do best.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for tuning in today and joining us here on Bell to Bells. You know the rigmarole. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, and I'll see you next time.